Good morning. You're listening to KZSC News, local news from the Monterey Bay.
The most recent lawsuit filed against Measure Z was filed by mineral rights and royalty owners. Measure Z, which passed on November 8th, is an initiative which would ban fracking and other high-intensity methods of oil and gas extraction. In December, Chevron, Shell Mobil, and ExxonMobil filed two separate lawsuits challenging the county's legal authority to prohibit certain types of oil extraction. A local judge ruled to halt the implementation of Measure Z except for the ban on fracking.
Recently spotted at Lovers Point in Pacific Grove, red pelagic crabs have reappeared in Monterey Bay after their initial return in October 2015. Before that, they hadn't been seen since 1969. The reason for their presence along the central coast is unknown, but it's during the more stagnant, warm water years, as those prevalent in El Niño cycles, that the crabs are usually found off the coast of Baja California and get carried into the Monterey Bay.
Members of the Russian art collective Pussy Riot were in Santa Cruz last weekend to perform a new multimedia production called Revolution. The performance is based on the writings of Maria Alyokina, who was in prison for 2 years after the Moscow punk prayer performance in 2012. In a 45-minute question and answer discussion following the performance, Pussy Riot members discussed a range of topics including current politics and ways to make revolution more interactive.
So in the 60s there was a motto. We said, make love, not war. Do you make any connection between sexual freedom and political freedom and safety?
I think there is a connection between Pussy Riot and Make Love No War.
Yeah.
Because revolution of 60s was one of the inspiration of my life.
Pussy Riot producer Alexander Chaparukin explained why the director of Revolution was not in the United States.
We are very grateful to the great theatrical director Yuri Muravitsky, and unfortunately he couldn't be with us because wonderful American government twice didn't allow him to come here, and that's what we don't like in this country.
All the Trump policy is actually, I think, more for the next Iron Curtain.
After an operation last month, which saw the Santa Cruz Police Department cooperate with Immigrations and Custom Enforcement, or ICE, many communities in California are concerned about how local police forces will interact with ICE. Monterey County Sheriff Steve Bernal told KSBW in an interview that while the Monterey County Police will cooperate with ICE on non-immigration related raids, the police will, quote, not assist in immigration raids.
The Santa Cruz City Council, on Tuesday, heard about the state of the Santa Cruz Metro Transit District, which provides bus service in Santa Cruz County, from its general manager, Alex Clifford. The service went through a serious budget crisis last year, and Clifford detailed how Metro was able to shrink to a $46.5 million annual budget without laying off any employees.
Last year went county-wide to look at our system and to see how we could sort of right-size our system. That resulted in about 13% cut in service on weekdays and about 31% on weekends. Other things that helped us to balance that budget included VTA contributing a few more dollars to the service. That helped us out for the Highway 17 service. UCSC was able to contribute about $600,000 more annually to the service to help us sustain the service in their corridors. And the Cabrillo College students got together. They put a measure before the students to vote on and ended up self-imposing a student fee upon themselves in order to have, for all the students to have a pass to ride the system. And that yielded about $750,000, which helped us again sustain service in the corridors that serve Cabrillo College. And we took a little bit of a chance. We took and carved out some of those service reductions, and we said, well, let's carve out some service and just set it aside, keep it running in hopes that Measure D would pass. And as we all know, Measure D did pass and helped us to continue to sustain the service as it is today, to sustain the service that we should have cut last year, but we didn't, banking on Measure D passing, and helped us to continue to sustain the level of service we provide today on our paratransit. So thank you again to all of the voters in the county.
Metro CEO Alex Clifford also announced on Tuesday that the transit district is soon going to deploy 4 new all-electric buses, funded by state and federal grants, aimed at reducing carbon emissions.
We were awarded a state grant for one zero-emission, that's a 100% electric bus. That particular bus will run as a circular in the Watsonville area. And then we also, right on the heels of that, we were awarded a federal Lono grant, and that federal grant will buy 3 electric over-the-road coaches. Those will be used on Highway 17 service, and they will be exciting. They'll be a lot different bus than we run today. These buses that we will buy are more built for that kind of service, have a lot more power, and can take that hill a little bit better than our fixed route buses can. And again, they will be 100% electric buses, which is really cool. So this is our first sort of toe in the water on electric buses. Now that hill will really take a toll on electric buses. So with that grant, we got what's called an in-ground inductive recharger, and we'll either place that, for example, at Pacific Station here or over the hill at Diridon. And what that does is it allows us to grab a 5, 10, 15-minute recharge each time that bus goes back and forth over the hill, so that if it works out the way it's designed to work out, it will run.
The 25-year-old Food Not Bombs project, which serves vegan meals to Santa Cruz's homeless population twice a week, has recently been involved in a dispute with the Santa Cruz Post Office and some downtown residents over the public events they host in front of the post office that typically feed anywhere from 89 to 150 homeless people each event, according to Food Not Bombs co-founder Keith McHenry. Some downtown residents and post office employees and customers feel that the gatherings leave the area littered and unsanitary, and that the human traffic is disruptive to the daily operations and function of the post office. McHenry and Food Not Bomb supporters dispute this, saying that they ensure that debris and litter are removed from the area after each event they hold. The Santa Cruz Post Office recently responded by erecting a fence around the post office to deter the homeless population of Santa Cruz from congregating there. This prompted participants of the Food Not Bombs project to decorate the fence at the most recent gathering they held. Petitions have been launched by both supporters and opponents of the project, and it does not look like either side will be giving up anytime soon.
On Thursday, March 9th, an autonomous group of around 40 students staged a mock Israeli checkpoint in Quarry Plaza and in front of the McHenry Library on UCSC's campus. One of the organizers of the protest explained what they were demonstrating.
We were basically trying to represent what a checkpoint looks like in Israel that Palestinian people have to pass through every day. So in Israel, there are around 500 checkpoints which restrict the movement of Palestinian peoples on a daily basis. So what we're trying to do here is to raise awareness to that issue, to the problem of the settler colonial government of Israel, the Zionist government of Israel, rather, that is really restricting the rights and the human dignity of all Palestinian peoples. And we want to relate this problem to what's happening here in the U.S. right now with the border wall or with the so-called Muslim ban.
Students involved in the checkpoint mimicked Israeli Defense Force officers and asked for ID for passage through the checkpoint. They also made periodic statements that if passerbys did not want to participate, they had the option of walking around. Though most observers cooperated with the checkpoint and showed ID to pass through, several forcibly removed participants. 2 observers repeatedly returned to the checkpoint to physically harass participants that made up the mock wall. While at the Quarry Plaza, some SCPD officers came and took pictures of the students involved in the checkpoint.
CalTrans has announced that the condemned Pfeiffer Canyon Bridge on Highway 1 will begin being demolished Monday at 7 a.m., though it could take several hours to remove the bridge entirely to ensure a safe and effective process. State Parks' Monterey District Superintendent Brent Marshalls has expressed concerns about trespassing through the canyon, saying, quote, "We have to make sure they get cleared out of the trail because we don't want to have debris falling down this steep terrain if there's still those trespassers down below. CalTrans plans to allow debris from the bridge to fall into the canyon before being further broken up and eventually taken away for recycling. A replacement bridge is not expected to be finished for at least 12 months.
This is John Malkin,
Ty Goering,
Maelin Rose,
Keith Rozendal,
Kavya Damian,
Kavya Aswadhati,
Sean Corfield,
Hannah Whelan.
And I'm Dylan Fabris. Thank you for listening. Tune in next Thursday at 8 a.m. for more KZSC news, local news from the Monterey Bay.